I figured it out. I figured it out. What did I figure out, dear listener, you ask? Well, let me take a guess. You are 20. You are quite ambitious and you want to do something with your life, but you don't know exactly what. You want more from life, but you don't know how that looks like. You have many different interests, but you don't know how to manage them, what path to take, what to pursue. Well, you're in luck. I figured it out. Well, actually, you never figure out anything completely in life, but I think that's kind of the point, but more on that later. 2 rules. I have, I believe, come across 2 principles for my life that work for me to navigate what to pursue and what to do with my free time that I have. 1, whatever you do, it must be fun. 2, it must be creative. Now, why these rules, dear listener? Hello, by the way. Why these rules? 1, it must be fun, because if you're having fun, you cannot be outcompeted by anyone else. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine you go up against someone else in a competition, and whatever you may say, to some degree, life is competition. In creativity, in athletics, in career, there's always a degree of competition. And if you're having fun, then 1, you are gonna work longer and more persistently on the thing that you're working on than someone who is not having fun doing that thing. And so you work longer and you work more and you're more engaged in the thing if it's fun. So you're gonna get better faster than the other person. And 2, even if you don't win at the game that you're playing, who cares? You had fun. Okay, so 1, it must be fun because you're less likely to be outcompeted, and even if you do, it doesn't matter because you had a lot of fun in the process. And 2, it must be creative. Now, I tend to think about a lot of things that I do now in these kind of 2 terms: consumption versus creation. Consumption is, well, you know, you watch TV, you watch Netflix, you scroll on social media, you consume other people's lives, you consume the things that there are in this world, right? You consume. And then you consuming is you take something from the world to you. Creativity is the opposite of that, the flip side of the coin, right? You take something from yourself and you put it out into the world. This can be a video, this can be a text, this can be a poem, this can be a service you create for other people. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it is something that you create, that you bring into the world. Now, why is the creating part important? Why is the creativity part so important? Well, for starters, we consume more than ever, right? We consume so much that we forget how to be without it. And I don't blame anyone in particular for that, but this doesn't absolve you of the responsibility to do something about it. And every time you engage in creative production, you make a video, you write a text, or you do anything that doesn't consume from the world but puts back into the world, you put something of yourself out there. And one of the things that we actually very often forget or neglect in the creative process is that it changes you. I have written, I think, about 15 essays or something on Substack. And one of the beautiful things about essays, and this is why students are supposed to write essays, it's not because the professor loves to read them, it's because you learn to think and you learn to figure out what you actually think about a subject. When you create something, at the start of the project, you rarely have the same opinion, the same thoughts, or the same beliefs than at the end of the project. At least that's what I have come to believe. Now, when you are engaged in creativity and you produce something, 1, you are not consuming. And this is already a big step, right? We all say, okay, we want to, get off social media and live life more and stuff. One easy thing to do is create something, because then at the same time you can't be consuming. You can't do 2 things at the same time. Multitasking is a scam. You're not consuming. The second thing, you are, in a way, contributing to the world around you. And that might not be in a major way, you might not change someone's life, but maybe somebody can benefit from the thing you are creating. And then the third thing, and I think that might be the most important one, is that it forces you to evolve and to put a piece of yourself, a thought or an idea or a vision out there in the world. It gets it from your brain into the world, and you have to break that vision down, and you have to grapple with your ideas when you make them reality. And you learn a whole lot of stuff in the process. For example, I recently filmed a documentary in Nepal. I have never filmed a documentary before, but the opportunity presented itself. You can go back to another podcast and listen to that story. And in the process of doing that, I learned so much. I gained friends in Nepal that I can now rely on. I learned how to prepare for a documentary. I will, in the post-production process, learn how to produce it. And I learned so much that I can now then apply. And this evolving of yourself is so important, because even if I say now, create something, you might be like, well, I don't know what to create, and that's fine, but you have to start, right? You're never going to know what exactly it is that you want to create, but that's not the point. Creativity or what you want to do in life is not a problem to be solved, it is a tension to be managed. Meaning, you're never going to figure out that this is the one thing you want to do with your life. Probably. It is something you have to grapple with on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Likely, I believe that. And so, when you follow these rules, make something that's fun, make something creative. And if you follow these two rules, do something that's fun, it must be creative. Then you take on a project, something that you can manage to create, you grapple with yourself, you put it out there, you write the text, you make the video. You don't even have to show it to anyone, okay? You make it, and then you reassess. Did I like this? Did I like it not? What did I like about it? And then you take on the next project, and the next, and the next. And throughout this process, the things that you make, they are going to evolve as well, as you evolve. And I can't help but think that this is one of the best antidotes to the chaos and the confusion and the uncertainty that so many people feel. It builds ability, it builds skills, it builds competence, it challenges us to think and to critically reflect on our thoughts, and it attracts opportunities, because the more creative you are, the more people will be interested in what you have to offer, the more connections you can make, and other people can help you solve your problems, and you can help other people solve their problems. And I think if you are at a point where you don't know what path to take, then you might as well start there. And maybe, I'm kind of going back on what I said earlier, maybe having fun is even something that not all of us can strive for, right? Because, for example, in that documentary, not all of it was fun. Looking up visa and filming permits for Nepal wasn't fun per se. And getting all my camera gear insured wasn't fun. Editing these podcasts isn't fun, but it's all in service of something that I care about. And I think maybe you can replace what I said in the beginning with do something that you deeply, deeply care about. And if it's fun, that's even better, right? Because the fun gets you over that initial resistance of not wanting to do it and of looking silly and all that stuff. So, and if you do something that you really care about, then you can also look back at the end of your 20s or of any period in your life and say, I did that. I made something. And I don't know what impact it will have, but you created something, and you didn't just sit there and consume, and you didn't lose yourself in other people's lives and in the stuff that goes on around you every day. And probably this is a perfect example, because at the beginning I said do something that's fun, and then halfway through, like right now, I realized that maybe fun is too high of a barrier to strive for, and you should And you can do something that you deeply care about, and that works as well. So this is actually a perfect exhibit. In the process of standing here and of recording this wonderful podcast and this video, I learned something. And that maybe having fun is not, the first rule, but doing something that you care about. Use whatever you have. Use whatever you want to use. Now this, obviously, if you haven't figured it out, was in a large part me speaking to myself, because I am at a point in my life where there's an incredible amount of uncertainty, and having these guiding principles is, I think, a good way to kind of put some guardrails in place for your life. Having principles and having rules that you live by. After I graduated with a master's a year and a half ago, I kind of gave myself similar rules. I told myself I want to follow my curiosity and I want to be courageous. Now, obviously, it's no surprise that this show is called Courageously Curious, because I believe if you follow your curiosity, it's gonna lead you places where you do things that are fun and that you care about. And if you're then courageous enough to push through the hard bits and to confront truths and realities that you might not like, and you stand there with courage and you deal with them, then I think that leads to a worthwhile and meaningful life. All that to say, I think it's good to have these principles. And if you take nothing else away from this video, then maybe try it out for yourself. If you're a bit lost and if you could use direction, maybe that works. Take on something, make something small that is fun or that you deeply care about, that you want to see exist in the world, and it has to be creative. And it doesn't need to be necessarily an artistic endeavor. It can be, I think, creativity in that way can be very broadly interpreted. You can also strive for an athletic goal. And if you take nothing else away from this video, from this podcast, then maybe just let it be this. Do something that's fun or that you care about, and make sure you create and don't consume. And obviously we're imperfect. I consume way too much and I create not nearly enough than as I would like. But I think it's worth striving for. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Courageously Curious. Thank you for joining me in this wonderful winter wonderland of a forest at sunset or nearly sunset. Thank you, my friend, and I will see you next week.